Superman is coming out.
69.
I don't know. Have we talked about Superman yet? James Gunn's Superman?
I think we were going to put it off to closer to release date rather than getting ahead of the story.
Yeah, so we may or may not have talked about Superman on the show over the last few months, but there is a new documentary coming out called Shopping for Superman that I just want to make you aware of. With Superman fever about to happen over this summer, I mean, one would hope. I mean, DC hopes. James Gunn hopes you are excited for Superman. There are lots of other Superman things that are coming out. So I just want to make you aware. Just because you watch Film Threat, we're not just all about the big releases. We're about the smaller movies you should know about. So let's check out this trailer, which I know you haven't seen, Alan.
Nope.
Here it is, Shopping for Superman.
Up in the sky, it's a bird. It's a plane.
The American Comic Shop. For over 50 years, they have been a singular space for collecting and graphic storytelling.
In many ways, is kind of the godfather of comics as they exist today.
It's something that you just can't do unless you really love it, unless you're devoted to it.
I couldn't believe that there was a shop just for this stuff.
There's something about comics that seems to pull people together like other things don't.
If you go back to the early 1970s, there were maybe 20, 30, 40 comic stores in the United States at that time. At its peak, we probably had 5,000.
I have enough comics to sell 1,000 comics a day for about 27 years.
The business was booming.
It felt like there was no end to the potential growth.
That all went to hell.
A local comic shop is closing its doors.
The whole project will collapse.
Catastrophic failure of comic shops. And I'm like, you dirty.
A lot of us didn't have the business backgrounds.
Went totally off the rails. They had no idea what they were doing.
After things did crash, we got to come up with the biggest thing we possibly can. And they did.
After 54 years, DC Comics has decided to kill off Superman.
And the whole room goes dead silent.
Oh, let me do that again. Let me do a heavy sigh again.
This had to happen, or there wouldn't be a market.
The future of comic shops has never been more in doubt.
Local comic store's biggest competitor has become Amazon.
We are on the brink of collapse, very much.
There's something magical about all this, and I don't want that magic to end.
This is not an optional lifestyle. This is all I got.
I want this store to be something that people remember with awe long after I'm gone.
Well, there you go, Alan. I know that you're like, you remember the death of Superman. That was a phenomenon. Lines around the block at Golden Apple Comics on Melrose Avenue. I remember that. The comic store I went to weekly, dropped way too much money. Dave's Comics in Royal Oak. Dave Huxley was the owner of that comic shop. And, it was a place I went to. Now, it took me 15 minutes to pick out my comics and buy them. And then I stayed at the store for 3 hours because you would sit in the store and have debates and argue. And then someone would say, you haven't read this? And then pull out some, used comic. And I wasn't really much a collector. I was initially, but I was a reader. And so, I'm sorry. I'm surprised Gary Beekler
isn't in
it. Comic Outlaw like that. Gary's shop should be there.
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you, but my comics. It was the Comic Stop. It was originally in the Old Town Mall in Torrance, run by Nick and Pam Scotto. For at least 8 years. That's where I spent all my time. I don't know where I got the money, but I spent way too much money on comic books, and it was my weekly passion.
Yeah, it's hey, Gary, Nerdrotic in the chat. Yes, Gary, check out that trailer. You probably might be in. The guy who bought my shop is. That's funny. That's great. Thanks, Gary. I'll be watching FNT later. Just making you aware of this, Doc. Wanted to let you know because that's what we do.